I just wanted to say thank you all for joining us tonight. I'm really excited to show you what's been happening with the library and what we'll be coming up to. I'm going to let everyone, I have 3 people I want to introduce to you, and I'm going to let them come up and introduce themselves. If you don't know me, I'm Layla Regan. I'm the city librarian. So if you have any questions or comments or just want to talk to someone, my email is lregan@cityofsierramadre.com, and feel free to ask me any questions you have about the Library Meaningful Improvement Project. A really quick rundown. The library moved from 440 West Sierra Madre Boulevard to 350 West Sierra Madre Boulevard, and we are operational at 350 West Sierra Madre Boulevard, so please come visit us. It's small but mighty, which is how we were before, but now we're a little bit smaller. And the library has received just about $10.6 million in state and federal grants to allow for a renovation of the library. Thank you. And I also want to thank, we got that through Assemblymember Chris Holden's office, as well as the California State Library and ARPA funds, and a lot of that was due to our Library Board of Trustees that was in place in the time. I especially want to call out Rich Proctor. He wrote this wonderful letter that was able to, we asked for $10 million, not expecting it, and then we got it. So that was a happy surprise. And the building itself was built in 1955, so it has served many purposes, and it has been retrofitted and added to and kind of scooched in there. Several few rooms didn't have any heating or air conditioning, and we kind of just kept going, and so with this we're able to really bring the facility up to ADA and seismic, as well as offer a little bit more to our community in the way of programming, having a nice community meeting space, providing quiet areas, better study areas. Anytime we had a teen program, the library tended to get very loud, so it'll be nice to have a special place that's just for programming. Archives is going to have their own place. Friends of the Library will have dedicated space. Even our IT department is going to have dedicated space. They have a closet currently at the old location. So lots to look forward to, and with that I'm going to hand it over to our architecture firm, which is TSK Architect, and they can introduce themselves, and we will go down the line here. So I'll let you come on up.
Hey everyone, I think you've probably seen me around before. My name is Jonathan Rickert. I'm a principal at TSK Architects. We are really excited that we get to partner with you as the city to really work on the library and try to help bring it up into a position where it's going to be better able to serve not only the community right now, but the community for generations to come. So, you know, one of the things that we really want to do is really help set the library up so that as future generations of Sierra Madre residents are able to use it and be blessed by it, just like it has been for the last many years. So we're really excited to be working with you and to show you what we have right now.
Good evening, everyone. Arnulfo Yanez, Director of Public Works, City Engineer. Those of you who may not know, I took over Chris Cimino. He is retired, so. Very happy to be here tonight. This is a very beautiful night for Sierra Madre, in a way where a new library, as Jonathan mentioned, a new library for the next generation of Sierra Madrens. From an engineering perspective, this is a project that we as engineers look forward to. Just, it entails, again, this is a nerd speaking to me, math, physics, chemistry, you know, topography, geology, all combined in one. So I'm excited. I'm really excited, as you can tell. I'm looking forward to it. Any questions, concerns, let Layla know, let myself know. I'm here at City Hall. Thanks.
Okay, I'm the new face. My name is Natalie Hazard. I'm from Vertex. I will be the project manager of construction, so I will be around town a lot. This is an exciting project for me to be part of the community to do this. You guys have waited a long time. I'm excited to not only do the construction, but all the finish and equipment and everything that goes into it. the whole building, not just the construction, but the construction and the interior are all part of how you envision it to be. And that's what we want to do tonight. So thank you very much.
Really quick, I just want to thank a lot of the faces I've seen here. So thank you to our Library Board of Trustees. There's quite a few of you here. And I see also our friends of the library are here and our Library Foundation. So, and some of our library staff as well. So thank you all for being here. And with that, I'm going to let Jonathan start our presentation so you can get a nice little peek at our library to be.
I like to move too much. So I'm going to show you kind of where we are updated on the design of the library. And if you remember, we had a presentation a while ago. I don't remember when that was, but a while ago. And we showed, kind of where the floor plans were at the time. And so now today we're actually going to look at that floor plan again, but also look at the south elevation, the north elevation, and then some interior renderings of the library. So you can see what the space is going to be like for the project as it moves into this next phase of construction. And so I would encourage you not to look at the projector, but to look at the TV screens, because the pictures are going to be much more realistic there. They're going to look really dark on the projector. So as just a reminder of the library here, all right. So if you imagine from that point up, that is your existing library as it stands right now. So that was built in 1954. It's a mid-century modern library, brick, stucco, glass, really resembles that character of design. Very beautiful library. And then everything below that is actually our new addition to the library. Now, if you look at the lower level, what we're calling level 0, following that same line, so right here, that up, that is the existing basement level or lower level of the library. And everything below that, to the south of that, is the addition. So one of the things that we really wanted to achieve with the addition and the renovation of the library was really making it more accessible to the public, to the people. As you know, right now, that back parking lot doesn't really, the back of the building doesn't really fit the design and style as the front of the library. And then there's also not adequate ADA parking, nor an ADA accessible path leading up to the front of the library. And so one of the things that we wanted to do was, how do we bring people into this library in such a way where they're not having to go up a path like that? And so we've created a new entry on the south side of the library. Oh, I can use my mouse here. So if you look right here, this is a brand new entry on the south side of the library. So as you park in this lower lot, which I'm going to show you in a second, you're able to enter the building through here and really come up into the upper area of the library or into the lower area of the library, be it the community room. Nope, no better. Be it the community room down here, the archive, or some of the other elements in the library. And so that was one of the big design decisions that we made, was how do we make this library accessible both from the north side and also from the south side. And so to give you a little bit of a breakdown of how the library is, this is your existing library stacks, which we're keeping primarily the same. So that remains library stacks with a new check-in desk. These little rooms to the north here, we're actually turning into meeting rooms and quiet reading rooms. So we know that one of the big concerns of the library is noise. And with the beauty of the library having large open spaces, that is a design challenge. And so you'll see through some of our finishes some of the ways that we're looking to address that. But one of the ways we also wanted to address it was by separating spaces out specifically for quiet uses, as well as keeping a gradient of quiet to loud spaces. So you'll notice that some of our loud spaces are closer here to the south side of the building. We're trying to maintain some of those quiet spaces there to the north. And so we have some quiet reading rooms. Yes? Can you tell us the room? You can't read the print. Yeah, so this is a meeting room and a meeting room, but they're also quiet reading rooms. Let me see if I can get this thing to maybe work better. Nope. All right, well. So, if you can see where the hand is here, that's a reading room, and a reading room was there, but they can also be used as meeting rooms if they need to be programmed as such. This is our main library stacks with our front desk. In the back area here, we used to have an office space, and if you've had the opportunity to walk through the office space, you know it's a little bit of a warren. You know, kind of there's nooks and crannies here. There's not very good areas for really clean working as well as for storage. And so one of the things that we've tried to do is really open that up to make it more effective to the library staff to really be able to serve the public of Sierra Madre better with a better working environment. We've also taken out those single occupancy restrooms that are currently in the library. So they're very small, they do not meet accessible code, and they're not appropriately meeting the size of the library. And so you can see we've provided two brand new men's restroom and a women's restroom right here to better provide that are accessible. Right below that is our new teen room. And so one of the things Layla was mentioning is how loud teens can get, right? When they're having fun. And so we've actually created a room specifically for teens with a little bit of glass and a door. So that can actually be closed. So they have the opportunity to still have the visual sight, being able to see in that room without having all the auditory noise coming out of that. If you go through this little opening right here, which you'll see actually is quite a bit bigger than it may look, you get into the new addition of the library. And so we have more library stacks, and then we also have our brand new children's room. So again, we're trying to separate some of those louder spaces. Again, kids and teens can get a bit louder in the library as opposed to perhaps adults who just want to sit and quietly read. And so we have this children's room with once again has doors that can be closed for auditory, but quite a bit of glass on either side of those so that there's still good visual sight into there. And in fact, there's an additional window in the sidewall here just to provide additional sight into that. And then coming over into our library stacks, we have our brand new elevator. So not only are we including a stairway on the south side to get from the bottom floor to the top floor, but we're also providing an elevator so that people don't have to tramp up those stairs. And then finally, our last thing on the top floor here is an outdoor reading balcony. So we really wanted to provide spaces of all sorts in the library. You know, some people like to be out in the hustle bustle where, you know, they're hearing people move, they're seeing things happen. Other people like to be tucked in corners. Some people want to be outside. And so through the design of the library, we're trying to achieve as many of those spaces as we can. So based on your personality, where you best want to sit and read, where you want to study, you have the opportunity to go ahead and do that. So this outdoor reading balcony provides another form of a place to be.
Will that be covered?
It is covered, yes. So coming down the stairs into our lower level, we have our program space. This is an opportunity for the library to do different things, have different spaces out in that opportunity, out in that area. And then we also have our new community meeting room. So a place that could potentially be rented by the community to have events there, or that the library can use for the many, many programs that they put on. As we move into the back here, we have our new archive. So one of the things that's a challenge with our archives now is they're not properly humidity controlled nor temperature controlled. So one of the benefits with the new renovation is we're able to bring those systems into the library so that we're properly taking care of the many archives that the city has as part of it. And then as Layla mentioned, we also have a brand new MDF room. If you've ever been into the basement of the library, you notice a little closet. On hot days, they have to have fans on both sides of that because the equipment gets hot, and if it gets too hot, it can actually break and shut down. And so again, we have this room that's separated that has all the proper temperature control that an MDF room should have in it. And then finally, on the back side here, we have our Friends of the Library bookstore and storage and workspace. So the Friends of the Library, who really do a lot to raise funds for the library, to really help it going, we have a space that is accessible from the outside of the building. So if the library happens to be closed, but the Friends of the Bookstore are still operating, you can actually come through this walkway right here, to access that bookstore and really still use that amenity. And then finally over here, less exciting spaces, you know, elevator, machine room, fire riser room, electrical room, those types of spaces. Now I'm actually going to switch PDFs real quick because on the drive here I realized I didn't include a site plan. So you can see what the site looks like as a whole. So I'm going to switch it real quick so you can see that.
And there's also restrooms on the bottom.
Yes, and there are 2 single occupancy restrooms on the bottom as well. So if we flip back to the PDF here, oh, I must have moved it. This can give you an idea of what the new library site looks like. And so from the standpoint of what's going on in the north, so off of Sierra Madre Boulevard right now, basically we're replacing some of those finishes to make them ADA accessible. Some of the bricks right now, they're not compliant with the codes for having a wheelchair move over those. And we still have our accessible parking spots off of here. We're turning our driveway here into a single, a one-way driveway, and that's really for fire truck access. So it's very important for the building to make sure that we have appropriate fire truck access. So we're providing that off this lane. Cars can still come off of Sierra Madre Boulevard and pull down that lane. And then off on the right here is actually a book drop-off. So if you don't want to get out of your car, you just want to pull up, roll down the window. Layla's super excited about this. You know, just be able to drop off the book, then you have that opportunity. And then you'll also see on the south side a little bit of a plaza space that comes off of the south of the building where we have our meeting room as well as where we have our south side entry, and then kind of a walkway leading up to that Friends of the Bookstore space. Something you'll also see just the glint of here is another ADA accessible parking spot, so that we have the 2 at the top, here at the bottom as well. And then I'm going to go to the next one here. What you can see is the way that we are now providing parking is leading down that hill. So we're providing the parking required for the site, and we've actually moved the driveway for the library so that it's not tucked up against the residents here, because what we are hearing is that's actually a bit of a hazard. When people are trying to pull out, they can't always see other people coming down the road. And so by moving it, we're giving more of a sight line so people don't have to worry about crashes in that as they pull out of that or pull into this, because you can also pull in off Mariposa Avenue here into this parking lot as well. Any questions on the site before I go back to the rest of the presentation?
Actually, I was curious on the floor plan, the lower level, there's a long hallway looking thing in the north end of that. I thought that was for the archive?
That is. It's an existing part of the library right now. And, you know, from the standpoint of what we were trying to do with it from a cost standpoint, is what we decided is to leave it as is. We're providing an accessible ramp up to it. It's roughly about 18 inches to 2 feet taller than the rest of the floor down there. So we're providing an accessible ramp up to it, and it's acting as more basically archive storage.
Okay, that's why there's no door directly from the east part of the archive to the north part of it.
Correct. Yeah.
And it also shows that there's a door on the north side of that.
So that's access to the crawl space under the building. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. You don't want to go there, yes.
So in the Friends of the Library space that can be open when the library is closed, will they have access to those bathrooms that are on that first floor, or is there no bathroom?
There is no bathroom specifically for that use, yeah.
They'll have to walk around. I was thinking when the library was closed, if there was a way for them to access that front room.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and switch back to our other presentation here. So I do want to bring us back to the fact that we do have these 2 restrooms down here, as someone pointed out, on the lower level, so you don't have to go up to that higher level as well. See if I
But they still have to exit outside, go down, and come back in.
There's no way back to work.
No, so it's something we looked at, but just from the standpoint of scheduling and having access, who has access to what, and also from the floor plan standpoint, we decided to keep them separate, completely physically separate. So this here is not a very glamorous thing. If you know how to read plans, this is the reflected ceiling plan. So if you imagine laying on your back and looking straight up, this is what you see. And the reason to show this is, again, we know that there's a lot of concern with acoustics in the library. And anytime you have a space that's big and open, sound is going to travel. And so one of the things that we are trying to do to help mitigate that as much as possible is put in high NRC, which is noise reducing coefficient. It's basically how much noise the acoustical panels stop. We're trying to have a high level of those and as much acoustical panels as we can throughout the site. You're going to see one other thing that we're doing, which is this little plinth that occurs right above the main circulation desk to try to help with noise as much as possible. One of the things that you'll also see later on as we get into some of the interior renderings, as you probably know if you've been into that lower space, the ceilings are not very high. So I'm 6'4" and they're like coming right down on me. The reality is this building floor to floor is only 9 feet 4 inches, which is a very small amount of space. And so in order to account for that, as we've had to put in new structural steel into our addition right here, is we're actually having the acoustical tiles tucked up inside of the structural steel. And the reality is that because we bring it below that structural steel, that space is going to feel really small and feel much more like a cave. And so to the best of our ability, we're trying to make that as big and open as we possibly can. But this gives you just a general idea of the ceilings. And the other thing I'll point out is, we really do want to make the library as beautiful as we possibly can. And so one of the things that we've tried to do is, to the best of our ability, is have our mechanical systems not just floating out there in the open, but tucked away. And so if you see here these soffits that occur throughout the rooms, what those are is those are opportunities for us to have our mechanical equipment running through the space, again, without making the ceiling lower, but also providing all of the air and return that's needed for each room. So as we get into sort of the imagery of it, one of the things you're going to notice is we're not really changing much on the north side of the building, is we're really trying to respect the design of the library as it is. There was talk early on about, do we completely replace the building? Do we start over? Do we leave it as is, or do we expand it? And really, for the benefit of future generations, really what the decision was to expand the library. And from a cost perspective, the best way to do that is actually to maintain the existing while adding on to it. And instead of having 2 completely different types of buildings that don't look like they belong together at all, kind of like the south facade and the rest of the library does right now, we really want the building to feel holistic and unified. And so while this is the north side, here is an image of the south side. And so you can see that we're trying to maintain some of the characteristics of mid-century modern design, as well as some of the characteristics of the library that we have here. And so we're using brick. It's not a full brick. It's actually a thin brick veneer, which makes a lot more sense for California and the way we do construction these days. We're using white stucco plaster, just like we normally would. Large glazing that's trying to follow some of the same language that we see on the north side of the facade, as well as on the east and the west. And then using some of that same color. So you'll notice that a lot of the windows and the fascia boards are colored a dark metal. Uh-oh, I lost the color. All right, here it is. So, yeah, So, you know, again, from a material standpoint, we're looking at finding a brick that matches the brick on the north side of the building. We're also looking at aluminum metal windows, which from an energy standpoint are much better, and we can actually get them in coloration to be similar to the rest of the building. And then having that same dark fascia color so that it all works together as a single palette around the building. And these kind of brownish grays that you notice here is actually pretty true to the mid-century modern design, and you'll see that that's a common characteristic that we're employing throughout the library. You're all welcome to come up and take a look at these afterwards. So you can see here on the south side of the building, we have our entry into the library right there. It's actually a covered entry that's a requirement by code from an energy perspective. We want to make sure that all entries have cover. But you can also see our outdoor reading balcony and the fact that that is a covered space. Now, I'm going to jump back up to this image if I can. We are providing some exterior lighting. Now, I know that there's also concerns of not blowing out the community with light. And I grew up in the middle of nowhere with plenty of stars, so that's a very big concern of mine personally. You know, what we are trying to do from a parking lot standpoint and from a walkway standpoint is really providing what code requires for people to be able to move through a space. And so current code has requirements about how much the ground has to be lit. And so we're actually, I don't think this image, maybe, no, we're not showing any of our light poles in these images, but really what the light poles are doing is they're providing that code required lighting. We are also providing a little bit of lighting on the underside of our roof canopy here, as well as the underside of our deck. That's not going to be enough lighting that someone's going to be able to sit out there and reading like they're reading inside, because the amount of light that we'd have to produce really would blow out the area. But it will provide some light to that balcony without becoming a nuisance to the rest of the remaining area. And then here's just a little bit of a perspective of that walkway. If you're coming down from the sidewalk coming up to that new entry, or you can see that walkway if you park on the other side leading up to that new entry as well. So now I'm going to go ahead, and sorry, one other thing is you can see we have a little bit of a cover over here over our Friends of the Library bookstore entrance, and then our free bookshelf is also over there as well. So jumping into the interior of the library, what we really want to do is a couple things. We want to fit in with the mid-century modern design of the library, provide some color without going overboard on color. It's very easy for libraries to really get into heavy primary colors, especially thinking about kids. And not that's a bad thing. You'll see our kids area is a little bit more lively, but really trying to keep it within the design style that it has today. And so you'll see that we're using a bit of a darker carpet to really act as an anchor. Typically you want the flooring to be a little bit darker, the walls to be a little bit lighter. That's not something we always do, but it's often a good method in which to anchor the ground. And then you can see the new bookshelves. That's going to be something that comes with FF&E in the project. The furniture here really is shown just to give an idea of how the space would get used. But you can see, you know, sort of the space that's created, the new acoustical ceilings really trying to help with the acoustics of the space. And then one of the things you also notice is right now if you walk into the library, there's the long dropped ceiling all the way from the entry all the way across. And so one of the things is, as we heard that was a little bit of a nuisance, and so we have removed that and dropped a new plinth over the library with an acoustical material on top of it. So this is an acoustical product. You know, it's actually made of felt. It's very sturdy and strong, however, and it looks like beautiful wood, which again is something that we see in mid-century modern. And so we're using this material not only on the ceiling above the check-in desk, but also down the back wall to really provide a place to grab the sound. You know, the check-in desk can be one of the noisiest places in the library here. And so trying to use that as a place to capture as much sound as possible so that doesn't permeate through the rest of the library. And then one of the other things you'll notice is that a lot of the metals that we have exposed in the project, we're sticking to that same dark color as the exterior. So again, it has the feeling of being unified both interior and exterior. So this is a little bit of a closer look, looking at this wood material wrapping down the back wall, our new check-in desk. And so from the check-in desk, again, you can come look at these, but we have our carpet, our darker carpet, our wood for the check-in desk, and a solid surface material, which acts as the top and then the waterfall sides of that check-in desk, which provides a really strong material. This material is often used in restrooms. It's very good for strong and durable construction. And then we have our some pendant lights, which is trying to stick with that mid-century modern theme and following that same color palette. So actually, let me step back a phase. Notice this is when you're first walking into the building, and you can see all the way through the new addition, all the way to the exterior. And so one of the things we're really trying to maintain is those strong sight lines that are in the library, is also really trying to create a lot of opportunities for natural light to come in to really brighten up the space. Now, as we start moving, you're going to start seeing a little bit of this yellow color here. I have it up. You can come check on it. One of the things that we're trying to do overall is mid-century modern often has a lot of muted colors with some pops. And so what we're trying to do is use this yellow color as the place when the area might otherwise be construed more as a cave, a little bit darker. So in areas that are kind of pushed underneath a lower ceiling, we're using that yellow to brighten it up, add a little bit of pop to the area. And so that door right there that we're seeing, that's actually the entry into the teen area, the teen scene. And so if we were to turn a little bit more to our left, we would see the new hallway going down to the 2 restrooms, as well as a drinking fountain. We also have a printer area for the library in case you need to go and print anything as well. But using that color really to try to begin to brighten up the space. And then again, you see through this opening into the new addition of the library. So this is as if you had just come up the stairs off that new south entry. So you've walked up the stairs, you could have taken the elevator, but you decided to get a little exercise today. You're coming up the stairs, and it shows you the large area of that new addition. You can also begin to see a little bit of a soft blue color. And that's one of the things we're using on some of our expansive walls, again, just to bring some color into the library. So it's not just a white box. We don't want to go overboard with color, but we also don't want to underdo color where everything becomes too white.
So off to the right side of that picture, are we looking at the front door?
So down here,
Where the woman is
No,
staying?
that's the children's room.
Level one.
That's the children's room to the right.
yeah,
Behind the lady walking.
so right here, that's our door.
No, up and to the right.
Yeah, so this is to the reading balcony.
Okay,
And that's the children's room down there. You can see the other pocket up there is the children's room as well.
All right, my rooftop garden is
So here's an image of the kids' room. And so one of the things that we want to do with the kids' room is really provide a bright, fun play space for the kids that can be great for hearing story times, a great place for them to play and imagine, a great place just to parents to hang out with their kids. You can see once again we're using that soft blue color for our primary wall. We have a good bit of glazing so that we have good visual in and out of that room, and then we also have an additional window into the space as well. And so looking at kind of our story time corner here, there was a suggestion by the city when we had the plans up in the library. Some people made suggestions, and one of them was, what if the story time corner, which at that point was just a word, was woodland themed? And we liked that idea. And so we moved forward with this kind of woodland theme. So you can see this is the log that you get to sit on in the enchanted forest. You know, you have your deer, and I think it's a raccoon, personally. It's a raccoon. Okay. I was thinking raccoon, but yes. You know, we have our forest home right here with some books. You know, some trees in the background so that we actually have some depth in it as well. Really just to make a space that's special for the kids, you know, at a time when their imaginations really can soar. And then one of the things you'll notice here also is just a continuation of using those acoustical panels really to try to help with the sound as much as we can. And one of the things I haven't pointed out, but we're replacing the lighting with a little bit more modern fixtures. So instead of the big boxy fixtures, much of them are broken right now, we're providing a smaller a linear pendant light, which both shines up and shines down, which is often used in classrooms because it's a very effective way to provide a proper lighting level at kind of more our typical working space. And so it'll reflect both off the ceiling as well as come straight down. So this is in the lower level. If you imagine, if you can see where the mouse is right here, where this gentleman is, that's that new door on the south side. So you're coming in, you come in, there's a stairway going up to the second level. Again, we put some of that yellow color right underneath the stair here. That's an area that we could have just closed off, but it really would have been a waste of space. And so we opened it up, put some of that yellow color in there to brighten it up. And I believe the library is looking at potentially having another check-in desk at that location to better serve the public. And then what you can see in this program space, whoops, sorry, very sensitive mouse. What you can see in the program space is, you know, the opportunity to rearrange it in different ways for different uses based on whatever program the library has going on. Up here, you see what I was talking about earlier, where we have those exposed beams because of our ceiling height, really trying to make the space as open as possible, pushing that ceiling up into the structure there so it doesn't feel like it's coming down right on top of your head. And then you see in the back wall here, a donor wall. So an opportunity for the city to really take part in the creation of the library, in things going on to the future, and be recognized for that as well. Right here also then is our elevator up to the next floor. This is an image of the community room. And so really we're trying to make this as flexible as possible so that it can be used for a number of different uses. Again, showing the same thing where we have the structure, but we have our ceilings tucked up into the structure, and then soffits along the exterior ledges, which is what's providing our air into the room. So we don't have to have those air ducts running right through the middle of the room where anyone can sit there and start whacking it. So I wish I could zoom in, but this kind of gives a section cut through that entire addition just to give you an idea of all those spaces once again. So you see here's that community meeting room with, there's actually, it's not shown here, but a little kitchenette for any events that are going on down there. We have our kids room right here with, you know, our storytime corner right on the west wall, kind of our main addition to the library, really trying to follow, again, the character of the existing library with the sloped ceilings in there, a lower roof where we need it, or a lower ceiling where we need it for mechanical systems. And then our lower area here, this program space, these two doors lead to the single occupancy restrooms, and this door right here leads back into the archive space itself. And that's the images I have to show you. If anyone has any questions or would like to see any finishes.
If you do have questions, please try to come up to the microphone for the people at home that are watching.
If you're curious about some of these finishes and want to wait till afterwards, you can come look at them. A lot of the woods that are in there, some of the colors you can see a little bit more clearly, the flooring, so on and so forth.
How many people could you get into the meeting room?
So it's going to be a little bit dependent on the size of the chairs that are selected, but around 100.
And that's theater style,
Correct. So we are currently in plan check, which means that our drawings are being reviewed, and actually for the most part have been reviewed. So we're picking up the few comments that had been given to us, and we're hoping, we're actually working on the schedule right now, so I can't give you a definitive schedule, but I'm thinking probably sometimes towards the end of the summer we might be going into construction. Yeah, I'll let you.
There are some issues that were discovered in the plans, nothing major. Safety is a priority. We want to make sure, the city wants to make sure that fire suppression, anything to do with fire sprinklers is top notch. And TSK is very open to that, making sure that the city complies. There are state regulations that we need to comply with. And again, it's a library for the next generation. We want to have this conversation 50, 60 years from now. Again, another meeting for the new library then. So we're really close. I would say a couple more weeks, and we should wrap that up.
Yes.
Two questions. Did you consider all gender restrooms rather than men's and women's? I know it takes more space. Do you have wheelchair access for reading tables as well as for the service?
Can you repeat those questions in the microphone, Jonathan?
I can. So the question was, did we consider all gender restrooms? We know that they take up more space. And do we have wheelchair access tables as well as for the check-in desk, correct? So we did have a conversation about all gender restrooms, and because they do take up quite a bit more space, from the use of the library standpoint, it didn't make sense to take up that much more space in order to provide that. That was the decision that had been made. Regarding the wheelchair access, so no desks or no tables have been selected at this time. That will be a part of it, I'm sure, is the consideration of having the wheelchairs. That front check-in desk does have an area specifically for wheelchair accessible. It's at the required height for that.
I also just want to point out that the restrooms downstairs are single occupancy, so they are technically all gender neutral, and the outside of the reference desks, everything else is going to be really fundraised for. So we can happily take into consideration any suggestions on furniture and ADA needs regarding the furniture inside the library.
Is there any storage area in the meeting room or the area on the bottom level?
Is there any storage area in the meeting room? There is storage in the meeting room specifically for chairs. Yeah. Yep. Yes, sir.
Two-part question. With the new entrance to the south, do you know percentage of entries on either side? How many people coming in from the north and coming to the south?
You mean from a practical use standpoint? I do not know.
I'm wondering why the placement of the donor wall being on the downstairs side rather than the upstairs side.
So the question was, do we know how many people will be using the south entrance versus the north entrance? And what was the consideration of the donor wall on the south versus the north? So we don't know. We don't know how many people will be coming from either. The majority of the parking is on the south side, and so a little bit of an assumption, and assumptions are bad things to generally have, but a little bit of assumption is that more people will tend to use the south entry because of that. On the north side, we have the 2 ADA parking stalls and then the street parking there as well. And so I'm sure we'll still see people coming from that direction, as well as people who are just walking through the town, but we don't have exact numbers on how many will be on each. From the standpoint of the donor wall, that's actually, it was just kind of through the design process, that's where it landed as a good location for it. We didn't kind of look at some of those north areas, but there's the self-checkout desk as well as some display cases on the walls there. So there's actually less room to have a donor wall. We didn't have a big open space to provide it. But on that lower level, kind of in that public space, we did have that as pretty open. And so that's kind of where we ended up landing on it.
Is there still access to the front of the building from outside, or is that just the walkway to the Friends bookstore?
So that is, the question is there still a path from the south side of the building to the north side of the building, or is what's shown just to the Friends of the Library? It actually is just to the Friends of the Library bookstore, to provide an accessible path from the lower side of the building to the upper side of the building is it's possible. It's quite a feat of engineering in terms of the number of ramps that have to get put there so that it is wheelchair accessible. But since it is accessible through the building, that's what we're using as our primary means of travel. Yes.
Yeah, Jonathan, great job, first of all. I love it. Please repeat that with the microphone to people. I think in one of the prior sessions we talked about potentially a future phase solar panels. I don't know if the roof structure could handle it, and also charging potentially for a future phase. Was that examined any further?
Yeah, so the question was, do we have thoughts of solar panels for the building from a structural standpoint, EV charging from that standpoint? So part of California code for the addition is that we don't have to provide solar panels, but we have to provide the area where solar panels would go. So on the new addition, the roof, there is a section that's structurally loaded so that solar panels could go there. The other opportunity is that solar could go in the parking lot, if that made sense. In terms of EV charging, I believe there was a decision made that from a planning perspective, we are not required to provide EV charging. So for the sake of the budget of the project, which has been a big, something we're constantly battling against, is where do we spend our money? We're not providing EV stations for the parking lot.
This isn't a structural question, it's more for Layla in long-range planning. I'm excited because venue space is very limited in the valley for meetings for the public, and I'm already thinking ahead, I want to reserve it already. And, but what if meetings are at night? Is there an entrance where you're not going in the library when it's closed, but your meeting is from 7 to 9 midweek?
So that has been a pretty big concern as well. There is no way to close off the top from the bottom. It has been mentioned, but what we would put in place was either providing, written into the contract, having some type of clause where either we provide a city employee or a security of some type. So, and that can also be to save costs, possibly they provide someone that basically safeguards the stairs. But currently there is no way to cut off the bottom from the top, but there are bathrooms downstairs, and it will just require a little bit of, it'll just require a little bit of extra with whoever's using the space outside of operational hours.
We do, however, have a door from the outside into that meeting room so that people don't have to enter the library. And part of the benefit of that was we were also trying to figure out how, if events are big and they want to have a little bit of outdoor space, that it can bleed inside and outside as well. So if you look here on the south side, right over here, it's kind of hidden by a tree, but we have a door as well as some storefront next to it, so we have a lot of good visual and then physical access as well.
And just one more follow-up, a financial question. You rent it, does the library, because what a great funding stream, would the library get the funds, or does the city get the funds and then give it back to the library?
So the question, because I forgot to repeat the other one, the question, the first question was regarding if you're using the downstairs space after hours, access to all of the library or just part, and we're not able to distinguish the two. As far as long-term planning, revenue stream wise, with renting that lower space, we're still figuring out the exacts on that. My guess would be it would be more of a cost recovery for the library. So that would be, it would help kind of go back into our general fund. Yeah, to help allow us to do a little bit more, and that way when we ask for stuff, it will be like, well, we have this cost recovery option.
You're not paying it to the city of Sierra Madre, you're paying it to the library.
We're hoping, but we're still figuring out. I mean, everything will go through the city, so it'll still be going through the city, but it'll come back. We're hoping it'll come back to the library and cost recovery means. So it'll help our bottom line.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Could you give us a timetable for when you'll go out for RFPs to contractors? You mentioned construction might start towards the end of the summer. I assume that's after that process takes place. So when might the contractor be?
So I can answer some of that. Preparation starts now. Oh, I have to repeat.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't- okay, so the question was as far as RFP process and timeline. Thank you. We're preparing now. We're building schedules, we're building budgets, we're building a lot of things in place to get to that point. So at that point, we'll go into RFP. We're gathering up contractors to find out who would be good for the process. We're looking forward to that. But just understand that as soon as I came on board with Jonathan, we've been working towards that. Does that answer your question?
Do you have an idea of when might be?
We're physically building a schedule now, so we don't have that currently, but we're building it now.
I emailed them at 11:30 last night with.
So we're working on it. we will have it shortly.
Any other questions?
Maybe outside the scope of the plan, consideration is widening that long, narrow driveway, not parking lot, where two cars are moving in opposite directions, one back up to the other.
The south parking lot of the library itself? Yeah, so you might have missed it, and I can pull it up again. We actually are completely redoing the south end of the parking as well as that drive aisle, and so we're actually even moving the drive aisle more into the center of the property so that it's not in danger of having cars hit it as you're pulling out right next to the residential property next to it. But so we're providing the kind of the parking lot width requirement for that.
And it'll also be one way. No, not down the driveway, but the whole drive.
Off Mariposa, it's two ways. Yep, off Mariposa is two ways, but coming off of Sierra Madre is one way for fire truck access. Correct.
So is there a turnaround at the top?
There's no the question was there's a turnaround at the top. There's no turnaround other than the parking spaces that are up there. And unfortunately, it's just because of the tight constraints of the site, us trying to use it as efficiently as possible.
How will you support media presentations in the community room?
So in the community room, we're providing a large format TV in order to use for digital presentations. The question was, how do we provide for media presentations in the community room? And I can go back to that image here. So you can see that large format TV there.
Is there a computer-specific area in the library?
So that's maybe I'll give that over to Layla.
The question was if there's a computer-specific area. Currently, we do have a computer room with desktops. What we're hoping to do is instead do more laptops anytime, which is you can check out a laptop and sit anywhere in the library, especially because we have a reading balcony, and you can also check out a charger, all the fun things. But we also plan on having 1 or 2 carrels that will be dedicated to desktops. But not as much computers as we had before. So we're trying to move more towards laptops and being able to be a little bit mobile We're also looking into wireless printing and being able to print from the laptops. That's a whole fun thing, though.
Layla, would you let the people listening at home especially know that this is the structure that they're gonna have to donate money for the furniture, fixtures and equipment?
Yes, so the comment was that just so you know, this is the structure that we will be working with, and that we are using the Friends of the Library and the Library Foundation to fund all of our furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So we will need additional help with this building. The Friends of the Library have generously donated, I believe, $795,000. 400,000 was from the Mary Tumulty Fund, 145 is from the Friends of the Library Partners Fund, and 150 is from the Friends of the Library General Fund. In addition to that, we have noticed as we had to order additional shelving for our temporary library, and they are on casters and they're mobile, everything's gone up in price, and it's not only gone up in price, but it's gone up in lead time. So we had ordered these mobile shelving units. We ordered 6 of them back in September, October timeframe, and we only just got them this month, or last month, I believe, the end of last month. We were told it was a 3-month lead time, and that was, so there's a lot to consider. So the sooner we can get donations and the sooner we can start planning these furniture, fixtures, and equipment, the sooner we can put in those orders and be able to have the equipment on time and on task. So please look into our Friends of the Library, and please look into our Library Foundation, and please feel free to reach out to me if you have any direct questions. Yes.
I have a question. The $700,000 you got, what percentage of your need does that cover?
So we are still I'm going to be working with TSK Architects and probably Vertex to kind of get a layout of different items we need. For example, the laptops Anytime that I mentioned, I initially wanted to get that for the temporary library, but that alone was about 30 grand just for 5 laptops, then not including the laptops, just the equipment for 5 laptops, not including chargers, things like that. So while it sounds like 10.6 million is a lot of money, and it sounds like 795,000 is a lot of money, but for the most part, we have allocated as much as we can where we can. As you can see with the design, it was mentioned to save costs, we are keeping kind of the green space the same, and that's going to be another project that we look into later. We had to kind of look elsewhere for EV charging because it wasn't a requirement. So we're trying to make it as cost effective as we can. We want to be able to have furniture in the meeting room, tables and chairs. We want to be able to have desks for our staff. We want to be able to have new items for the children's room, for the teen room, and a lot of the AV equipment and IT and tech is really coming up in price. It was going down for a bit, but it is coming up in price, and even shelving, chairs, everything like that has drastically gone up. I just want to point out that when we initially, the Friends of the Library did pay to have an architect design an entire new building in 2019. All new space, brand new, and it was going to be in 2019, $14 million. Today, if we were to use that same plan, it would be about 25 or 30 million. So it is something that we have had to take into consideration a lot. If we had been able to do this project prior to COVID or even in 2018, 2019, we would have gotten a lot more bang for our buck. But inflation is no joke. And with the 795,000, we're hoping it'll go somewhere, a lot more, but it does bring into, we're still working on the naming rights and things like that with the library. So and in addition to that, even with donating to the foundation, like I said, we're still going to have to work on the exterior and the green space, and I have in other projects like that. I would like to get solar panels over the parking, and that's a whole other fun project. So there's a lot more at play here than just the furniture, fixtures, and equipment. But we're hoping to get some really nice things in there for everyone.
If you were to have everything on your wish list, how much more are we talking about? $1 million?
I think it would be probably at least 2 million. If you want the 42, I think they're 42 inches high shelves on casters was about 26,000, just for 6 of them. So the costs are adding up quickly. But I know this community, and I know how much we all love the library, and I know how much we're enjoying the temporary library as well. And that was also a labor of love. I've had a lot of staff put a lot into that temporary library. They've really stepped up, and they're the ones, not necessarily me. My wonderful staff, they're the ones that made that temporary library how it is, and they have worked extra and put in the time, and I know that they'll do the same for this building, but we can only do so much. So I know it's hard to ask, because I know 10.6 does seem like a lot, 795,000 does seem like a lot, but we want to make sure that what we provide is going to last and be there for the future generations. So.
How's the timeline? Is there a specific timeline? You don't have one, you don't have a grant.
So the question was on the timeline for the grants. So the grants, both grants, we have 2. We have a 10 million targeted state grant, and then we have a about 600K building forward infrastructure grant that is through the California State Library. And both of those have to be expended by March 31st, 2026. So if construction starts even, I think, at the end of the summer, construction usually actually goes fairly quickly. I've been told sometimes, most sometimes.
Depends on where if you live next to it or further away from it.
That's true. So we're hopeful even at the end of the summer that construction can wrap up. The grant begin. So sorry, but yeah, can begin. And the only issue, even if we had a completed building by March 31st, 2026, is the relocation of items out of storage and from the temporary library are tied into the grant. So the books and everything has to be also, at least the books have to be into the building by March 31st, 2026 as well. Otherwise, they will stay in storage, and that'll be money that we won't be able to use from the grant.
So if we need another 2 million, do we have an aggressive fundraising plan in place, or should we have one, or?
I believe that's actually the Library Foundation question. I don't know if Rob Stockley's still here. He might need to come up and talk. Come on. Oh, he's so our wonderful Library Foundation and the Friends of the Library are working on it. They are reliant on me to try and getting a naming rights and a list together, so I am working on that as quick as I can.
So I'm overdressed for the event again. I'm sorry about that. I thought I was going to be able to sit in the back. The answer to the question is we're still trying to figure out what the budget is. So Layla's answer about how much is the total budget still is a moving target. We haven't settled on that. I can tell you we have an enthusiastic and bright board for the foundation, and we're going to be coming out and asking for money. So be ready. But we will be coming out in different phases over the next 18 months. And so you'll have an opportunity to donate to this cause and get your name up there somewhere and all sorts of good things.
Well, the earlier we start, the better. I mean, now that we know it's 2 million.
And we're waiting.
Well,
there-
that's still
there's
an
some-
estimate on my part. I'm
Yeah,
still
they're
getting my numbers together.
Well, there's a lot of things that need to be sold first. The contract needs to be signed for the construction. So we need to know how much of the budget from the grant is actually tied up in construction. Is there any money left over or not? And that'll give us an idea of how much more we need to raise. But the $695,000 that the Friends have pledged and have is a good start in that direction. So whatever that number is already got a big piece of it taken care of by the Friends. Okay.
Is there a website though?
For the foundation, you can Google Sierra Madre Library Foundation and you'll find it, .org. Thank you for asking. But the foundation's come a long way as far as laying the groundwork and doing all the things that you do in anticipation of a fundraising drive. So that work is being done while we have the opportunity, and it's still too early for us to start asking for money.
I know you fundraised forever, but you know, naming rights are cool just because you can do a very low amount so people feel engaged and they donate it, but you also can do a floor and a door that
An elevator.
But just FYI, you know, all little things are,
Yeah.
people feel like they've helped.
Yes,
You know what I'm
and I mentioned that we're gonna be doing phases, and one of the first phases is you get the major donations. And the Friends is certainly the top of the pyramid. And then we'll fill in below that, and the idea is you don't wanna ask somebody for $100 if they're willing to give you $10,000. So you ask for the bigger amounts first, and then there'll be an opportunity for everyone in the community to get their name on something, whether it be bricks or, you know, something. But yes, or bears. We love bears, most of us. Yes. Any other questions that I'm not prepared to answer? Okay.
Thank you, Rob. All right, I think that's it for I think that's it for this meeting. I just want to say thank you all again for being here. It is very important to me that we're able to share this with you all and that you're able to view it and comment and see it. I will do what I did at the previous, at our soon-to-be rehabbed library, and I will get a printout of the new floor plan and allow people to view it at the temporary library, which is 350 West Sierra Madre Boulevard, the old Bank of America building. So you can feel free to come visit us. I want to say thank you again to our Library Board of Trustees that are here, and our friends of the library that are here, our Library Foundation members that are here, and even our former Library Board of Trustees that are here, as well as library staff and, of course, the community of Sierra Madre. This would not have been possible without all of you. So thank you so much.